Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're tackling the marketing guru,
Yes.
Seth Godin.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a whole stack of his books here
Mm-hmm.
to kind of pick apart
Yeah,
and see
right.
what we can learn from them
Yep.
about
Yeah.
marketing and leadership and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So just to give you a quick overview
Okay.
of the books that we're going to be talking about,
Right.
we've got All Marketers Are Liars.
Okay.
We've got Tribes,
Right.
Linchpin,
Mm-hmm.
Permission Marketing, Poke the Box,
Yeah. Right.
The Dip,
Mm-hmm.
and This is Strategy.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
quite a selection.
Quite a few.
Quite a few. Yeah.
And the reason why we pick these is because I
Okay.
think these are really going to help
Yeah.
us understand
Mm-hmm.
how to stand out and lead effectively
Okay.
in this crazy world that we live in.
Yeah. It's a lot of noise out there.
Definitely.
There's so much noise.
It really is.
Yeah.
And
Seth Godin. Yeah.
in many ways,
Mm-hmm.
predicted a lot of what's going on now
Yeah.
in terms of marketing and business.
Yeah.
Way back when,
Mm-hmm.
he was already talking about the death of traditional marketing,
Yeah.
billboards,
Mhm.
TV commercials, all that stuff. Just
Doesn't really work that well anymore.
it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Especially with the internet and social media.
And so instead,
Mm.
he emphasizes the importance of
Right.
building trust and getting permission
Yes.
to communicate with people,
Exactly.
which is a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right into
Okay.
All Marketers Are Liars,
There.
which is a very provocative title.
Yeah, it is.
And when we say liars, he doesn't mean that
Okay.
marketers are like
malicious or
Yeah.
deceptive.
or intentionally deceiving people.
Right.
His point is that people don't buy products.
Mm-hmm.
They buy the stories that they tell themselves
Right.
about those products.
Yeah. So think about it.
Yeah.
When you go to buy, let's say, a
Yeah.
pair of sneakers,
Okay.
what are you really buying?
Right.
You're buying
Yeah.
a feeling. You're buying
Oh,
story.
yeah.
You're buying into the brand image.
Like I'm an athlete.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm cool.
You're cool. You're stylish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or-
whatever.
And the funny thing is,
Yeah.
those shoes probably cost a few dollars to make,
Right.
but you're willing to pay
Yeah.
$100,
100, 200.
200, 300.
Yeah.
It's the story
It's the story.
that makes the difference.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what marketing is all about.
Yeah.
Tapping into those
Right.
desires and aspirations.
And this gets into, the idea of worldviews,
Yeah.
which is another really important concept that Seth Godin talks about. So worldviews are like the
Yeah.
lenses through which we
Yeah.
see the world.
Yes.
They shape how we interpret information,
Absolutely.
what we pay attention to,
Yep.
and ultimately what we believe.
So if you're trying to sell something,
Mm-hmm.
you need to understand
Yeah.
the worldviews
Oh,
of your audience
Yeah.
and craft a message
Mm-hmm.
that resonates
Yeah.
with their specific beliefs.
That's where the whole idea of target marketing comes in.
Right.
Instead of trying to reach everybody
Yeah.
with this generic message.
And shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hoping someone will hear it.
Yeah.
It's much more effective to
Yeah.
focus on a specific group of
And check
people
who already believe.
who share similar values, similar interests.
And so how does this play out
Mm-hmm.
in the real world?
So Godin uses this great example of
Okay.
Fox News.
Okay.
They built a media empire by catering to a specific audience
Oh, yeah.
with a very specific worldview.
Right.
And they were incredibly successful
Yeah.
because of that.
They tapped into something
Yeah, exactly.
that people wanted.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a prime example
Mhm.
of how powerful this approach can be.
But then it raises this question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible
Yeah.
to target a specific audience
Yeah,
without
Yeah.
alienating everyone else?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think the key is authenticity.
Yeah.
You can't just manufacture
Yeah.
a story that you think people will buy into.
Yeah.
You have to believe it yourself. You have to be genuine.
You have to walk the walk.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
in today's world,
Yeah.
with social media and the internet,
Yeah.
it's very easy for people to see through
Yeah.
the BS.
Like you can't fake it anymore.
You can't fake it.
Yeah.
People will call you out.
Absolutely.
And word spreads quickly.
Yeah. And this leads us to another one of Godin's books,
Okay.
which is Tribes,
Yeah.
where he talks about the importance of finding and connecting with these groups of people
Mm-hmm.
who are passionate about the same things.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we actually
Yeah.
find and connect with
Right.
these tribes?
Well, first you have to understand what a tribe is.
Okay.
Godin describes it as a
Yeah.
group of people connected
Mm-hmm.
by a shared idea or
Okay.
passion
All right.
They crave connection.
Okay.
They want to belong to something bigger than themselves.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is really appealing.
Yeah, especially in today's world where people feel very isolated.
So how do you know if you've found your tribe?
Well, it's like the difference between a crowd and a tribe.
Right.
A crowd is just a bunch of people in the same place.
Oh.
But a tribe has a shared purpose.
Okay.
They're working towards something together. They have a sense of belonging.
And that's where leadership comes in.
Yes, and that's another key point that Godin makes.
Yeah.
True leadership is about assembling and energizing a tribe.
So you don't need a fancy title or a corner office to be a leader.
You can lead from anywhere.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, he gives this great example of a guy named Barnett, who was a community organizer, and he led this tribe of passionate people who were fighting for change.
So it's about inspiring people.
Yeah, inspiring, connecting people, and giving them a sense of purpose.
Yeah, and that reminds me of, musical groups like the Grateful Dead, who weren't just a band.
Yeah.
They were
a movement.
Yeah, they created this whole
culture around their music.
Culture and community and shared values.
Exactly.
But then it makes you wonder, how do you avoid creating an echo chamber when you're building a tribe?
Yeah. How do you encourage healthy dissent? Yeah, because you don't want everybody just agreeing with you all the time.
And that's where the concept of heretics comes in.
Yeah, heretics are important.
Yeah.
They're the ones who challenge the status quo.
They push the boundary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They ask the tough questions.
And sometimes they're annoying.
They can be.
Yeah.
But they're necessary. You're necessary.
Yeah, because they help us to grow and evolve.
So you're saying to have a truly thriving tribe, you need a mix
of passionate believers and those who are willing to question and push boundaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Godin argues that true leadership requires being comfortable with discomfort.
So you need to be okay with people disagreeing with you.
Yeah. And you need to be open to new ideas.
And not just surround yourself.
Exactly. With the yes men.
With people who just tell you what you want to hear.
Because if you do that, you're going to get stuck.
You're going to become irrelevant.
Yeah, and you're going to miss out
Yeah.
on opportunities to grow and innovate.
Like Blockbuster Video.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Blockbuster Video.
If they had embraced
Right.
the idea of streaming,
Yeah.
they could have been Netflix.
They could have dominated the market.
But they were too afraid.
Yeah, they were stuck in their old ways of doing things.
Yeah, and they paid the price.
And they paid the price.
Yeah, and the music industry, too.
Same thing.
They clung to their old model for way too long.
And they lost billions of dollars.
Yeah, so how do we avoid becoming a Blockbuster?
Well, one way is to become what Godin calls a linchpin.
Which is the title of his next book that we're going to be talking about. So let's dive into that.
Oh, okay.
Now, this idea of becoming a linchpin, I think, is especially relevant in our age of automation and AI.
Yeah, because, robots are getting smarter and smarter.
Taking our jobs.
They're taking our jobs.
Yeah.
So how do we stay ahead of the curve?
How do we make ourselves indispensable?
Well, that's exactly what Godin addresses in Linchpin.
And he says, we need to move beyond just doing what we're told.
Right. Just following orders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And become linchpins who bring something unique and valuable to the table.
That's it.
So in a world where robots might be able to, do our spreadsheets and write our reports, what skills should we be focusing on?
Well, it's not so much about technical skills anymore. It's more about those so-called soft skills that machines can't replicate.
Things like emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence, yes.
Yeah.
Creativity. Yeah. Problem solving.
Yeah.
The ability to connect with people on a deep level.
Those are the things that are going to set us apart.
Set us apart from the machines.
So it's like the difference between being a replaceable cog
in a machine.
Yeah.
And being the essential piece.
Yeah. The linchpin.
Yeah.
That holds everything together.
So how do we cultivate these linchpin qualities?
Well, it's about, going above and beyond what's expected of you.
Okay.
It's about taking initiative, solving problems before they even become problems.
Wow.
And, Godin gives this great example of Marissa Mayer at Google. You remember her?
Yeah.
She wasn't just, sitting there waiting for instructions. She was actively looking for ways to improve the company.
To make things better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was connecting people.
Yeah.
She was solving problems.
And she rose through the ranks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She became a linchpin.
So if you want to be indispensable, you got to be like Marissa Mayer.
You got to be proactive.
Yeah.
You got to be a problem solver. And it sounds kind of exhausting.
It can be.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. Because you're making a difference.
You're making a difference.
Yeah.
You're not just a cog in the machine.
Right.
You're actually shaping the future.
Yeah. And Godin also talks about this idea of giving yourself a D.
Yeah. This is one of...
Which sounds counterintuitive.
It does, but it's actually a brilliant strategy.
So come explain that.
Okay, so when you give yourself a D, you're basically saying, I'm not going to try to be perfect.
Okay.
I'm not going to try to please everybody.
Okay.
I'm going to focus on doing work that matters to me.
That matters to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to my audience.
And even if it's not perfect.
Even if it's not perfect. Even if it's messy.
Yeah.
Even if it gets criticized, because at the end of the day, it's better to create something that's meaningful than to try to be...
Than to just play it safe.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And please everybody.
Because then you're not really making a difference.
You're just blending in with the crowd.
And you become invisible.
You become invisible.
Yeah, exactly. So you're saying it's a balancing act.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about being bold and innovative, but also being mindful of your audience and your goals.
All right.
So let's say you've done all this.
Okay.
You've crafted a compelling story. You found your tribe.
Yeah.
You're becoming a linchpin.
Yeah.
You're giving yourself a D.
I'm giving myself a D.
Yeah, you're pushing boundaries.
Yep.
But how do you actually cut through the noise?
So much noise.
How do you reach people who are bombarded with messages?
From every direction.
I feel that every day.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
And that's where permission marketing comes in.
Okay, so tell me about permission marketing.
This is one of Godin's most famous ideas. And it's basically about shifting from interruption marketing to permission marketing.
Okay, so explain the difference between...
Right. So interruption marketing is the old way of doing things.
Okay.
It's like those annoying TV commercials that interrupt your favorite show.
Yeah, or those pop-up ads.
Yeah, pop-up ads, billboards, spam emails.
Yeah.
It's all about interrupting people.
It's shoving your message in their face.
Whether they want it or not.
Whether they want it or not.
Yeah.
And it's just not effective anymore.
Just noise.
It's just noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative?
The alternative is permission marketing.
Okay.
Which is all about earning the right to communicate with potential customers.
Okay.
So instead of interrupting them, you're building relationships.
Right.
You're providing value. You're getting their permission to talk to them.
And how do you do that?
Well, Godin gives this great example of Crisco.
Crisco.
Yeah, okay, the shortening.
Yeah.
Remember Crisco?
Yeah.
So they created this cookbook filled with recipes that used Crisco.
Right.
And they gave it away for free.
Great
So
price.
people were like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, this is valuable.
I'm going to try these recipes. And then they would start buying Crisco.
So they weren't just...
Exactly. They weren't just trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
They were giving you something valuable in exchange.
So they built trust.
They built trust, they built a relationship, and they earned the right to communicate.
And once you've earned that permission, then what?
Well, then you have to be respectful of people's time and attention.
Because you don't want to...
You don't want to abuse it.
Yeah.
You don't want to spam them with irrelevant messages.
Even if they did give you permission.
Even if they opted in.
Yeah.
You still have to be mindful of their time and attention.
Yeah.
It's like a precious resource.
So it's about quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about blasting out as many messages as
Yeah.
possible.
It's about sending the right message.
It's about sending the right message to the right people.
To the right people at the right time.
At the right time.
Yeah. And this brings us to another important concept that Godin talks about, which is frequency.
Frequency. Yeah. So in permission marketing, Frequency is key.
Right.
You need to stay top of mind.
Okay.
You need to nurture those relationships.
And you can do this through email marketing.
Email marketing, social media,
Yeah.
content marketing.
Blogging, all that stuff.
All that stuff.
Yeah. But the key is to be consistent.
Consistent and valuable.
Yeah.
You don't want to just disappear for months and then suddenly show up.
And then bombard people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You want to be there.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Providing value.
Yeah.
Building that relationship.
And Godin highlights companies like Yo-Yo Dine and Amazon to show how businesses can use data and personalization
to create more relevant and valuable experiences for their customers.
So it's not just about blasting out the same generic message to everybody.
It's about tailoring the message.
Yeah, tailoring to each individual.
To their specific needs.
And interests.
And preferences.
Yeah, so it makes them feel like you're talking directly
know them.
to them.
Yeah.
Like you understand them.
And that you care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really important.
Yeah, because people want to feel seen and heard.
So even with permission, even with a compelling story and a loyal tribe, there's still this hurdle of getting people to actually take action.
Yeah. How do you get them to do something?
Yeah, like buy your product.
Exactly. Yeah. Or sign up for your email list.
Or join your movement.
Or whatever it is you want them to do.
Yeah, and this is where Poke the Box and the Dip come in.
Yeah, these books are all about taking action and overcoming obstacles.
Right. So in Poke the Box, Godin encourages us to just poke the box.
Poke the box, yeah.
Which sounds kind of...
It's a weird metaphor, but it's basically about taking initiative, starting things, experimenting.
Like, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid to try new things.
Because sometimes I feel like the hardest part...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just getting started.
Is just getting started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We overthink things.
We get stuck in our heads.
We get paralyzed by fear.
Yeah.
And we end up procrastinating. Yeah. So Godin is saying, just do it.
Just poke the box.
Poke the box.
Yeah.
See what happens.
And that ties into his book, The Dip.
Yeah, The Dip.
Which is all about the challenging periods that we all face when we're trying to achieve something worthwhile.
Worthwhile, yeah. So how do we know if we're in a temporary dip or if we're just...
Or if it's a dead end.
Yeah, in a dead end.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Because I feel like sometimes I get stuck in a dip.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and you don't know if you should keep going?
If I should just quit.
Or quit.
Yeah.
And that's why Godin makes this distinction between the dip, which is a temporary hurdle, and a cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Which is a dead end.
Okay.
So the dip is like you're climbing a mountain.
Okay.
And it's getting really steep.
Okay.
And you're tired.
And you want to turn around.
You want to quit.
Yeah.
But if you keep going, you'll reach the summit.
You'll get to the top.
You'll get to the top.
Okay.
A cul-de-sac is like you're driving down road and you hit a dead end.
Okay.
There's nowhere else to go.
You got to turn around.
You got to turn around.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to distinguish between the two.
Between the dips and the cul-de-sacs.
And quit the cul-de-sacs.
You get the cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
And push through.
And push through the dips.
Yeah.
So how do you know?
Well, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's not always easy.
Yeah.
But I think one way to tell is to ask yourself, is this still aligned with my goals?
With my values.
With my values.
Yeah.
Am I still passionate about this?
Because if the answer is no, then it might be time.
It might be time to quit.
Yeah. And that's okay.
It's okay to quit. In fact, it's often the smartest thing to do.
Yeah. So this leads us to Godin's more recent book.
Yes.
This is Strategy.
This is Strategy.
Where he takes a broader look at systems thinking.
Systems thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is systems thinking?
It's about understanding the bigger picture.
Yeah, the interconnectedness of things.
Yeah, like how our actions have ripple effects.
Ripple effects throughout the system.
Yeah, so it's not just about...
Right, to pluck it on individual actions, it's about understanding the whole system.
The whole system.
Yeah. And how things...
Like how they interact.
Yeah. And Godin encourages us to step back.
To zoom out.
And look at the bigger picture. Yeah, and see how everything is connected.
And how our choices influence the system.
Yeah, and how
the system influences us.
Yeah. So it's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah. And once we understand that, Then we can start to make more strategic choices.
Make more strategic choices, yeah.
About how we
engage with the world.
Yeah. Because we're not just passive bystanders.
We're not just victims of circumstance.
We can actually
shape the future.
Shape the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really empowering.
Empowering, yeah. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different things.
We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the power of storytelling to the importance of building tribes.
Yeah.
To becoming linchpins.
Right.
To understanding the systems that we operate within.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you had to boil it all down.
Okay. To a few key takeaways.
Yeah, what would you say?
Well, I would say first and foremost, authenticity is key.
Authenticity is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be genuine.
Yeah.
You have to believe in what you're doing.
Okay.
You have to be true to yourself and to your audience.
So no more faking it.
No more faking it. Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Okay. And
find your tribe. Find your tribe.
Yeah.
Connect with people who share your values, your passions, your interests.
Yeah.
And build something together.
Okay, so it's not just about
broadcasting your message.
Yeah.
It's about creating a community.
A community, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and what else?
And become indispensable.
Become indispensable.
Yeah, become a linchpin.
Be a linchpin.
Yeah, bring something unique, valuable
to the table.
To the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, develop those soft skills.
Like emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence, creativity, problem solving, the ability to connect with people.
And don't be afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. To give yourself a D.
To give yourself a D.
Yeah.
Yeah, take risks.
Take risks.
Push boundaries.
Push boundaries.
Yeah.
And do work that matters.
That matters.
Yeah.
And then remember, you're part of a system.
It's a system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about how your actions affect the system.
Yeah. And vice versa.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And make conscious choices.
Okay.
About how you want to engage with the world.
Yeah. So those are some of the key takeaways.
Okay. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the mind of Seth Godin.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
I'm left with this feeling of possibility.
Possibility.
Yeah. This sense that we have more agency.
Yeah.
We have more agency than we realize.
Yeah. And if the most successful organizations are built by linchpins, what are you doing?
What are you doing today
to become
indispensable?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening.
And until next time.
Yeah.
Keep learning.
Keep learning.
Keep questioning.
Keep questioning.
And keep pushing the boundaries.
Push those boundaries.
Yeah.
Join your movement or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. And that's where these two books that we're going to talk about next.
Okay.
Come in. Poke the box in the dip.
Okay.
So in Poke the Box, Godin is really encouraging us to overcome that resistance.
Yeah, that resistance to action.
Yeah. It's like sometimes you have a great idea.
Yes.
You're excited about it.
You're pumped.
And then you don't do anything.
And then you do nothing.
Yeah. You just sit on it.
Yeah. You just
think about it.
You're like, oh, I should do that.
I should.
And then you don't.
But you never do.
Yeah. So he's saying, just poke the box.
Poke the box.
Yeah.
Just get started.
Just take action.
Take action.
Yeah. And
see what happens.
Yeah. Experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Because
that's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
That's how you grow.
And that ties into the dip.
Yes.
Which is all about persevering. Through those tough times.
Because
when you're trying to achieve something worthwhile.
Yeah. Anything worthwhile is going to have.
It's going to be hard.
It's dips.
Yeah. There's going to be obstacles. Setbacks.
And challenges.
Yeah. And you're going to want to quit. Yeah. So how do you know?
Yeah. How do you know?
When you should. When to persevere.
Yeah.
And when to quit.
Yeah. Because sometimes it's hard to tell.
The $1 million question.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're in a dip.
Yeah.
And you're like, should I just
give up?
Give up?
Yeah.
But sometimes you're in a dip.
And you're like, if I just push through this.
And if you just push through it.
Yeah.
You'll come out.
I'll reach the other side.
On the other side, yeah. And so how do we distinguish?
Like Godin makes this distinction between a dip and a cul-de-sac.
A cul-de-sac.
Okay.
So
So
a dip is
like you're climbing a mountain.
Okay.
It's getting really steep.
Right.
You're tired.
Okay.
You want to quit.
Yeah.
But if you keep going, you'll reach the summit.
You'll get to the top.
Okay. A cul-de-sac is like you're driving on the road.
Yeah.
And you hit a dead end.
Okay.
There's nowhere else to go.
You got to turn around.
You got to turn around.
Yeah.
So
how do we know?
Yeah, how do we know?
Which one we're in? If we're in a dip or a cul-de-sac.
Godin says to ask yourself.
Yeah. Ask yourself.
Yeah.
Is this still aligned with my goals?
My goals.
Yeah.
My values.
My values.
Yeah. Am I still
passionate about this?
Passionate about this.
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, then keep going.
Keep pushing.
It's probably a dip.
Yeah.
If the answer is no,
it
might be time to quit.
To quit.